just mentioned, Bitcoin's going up, and there's nothing really to tell me that Bitcoin won't just simply keep going up. The way that I'm seeing this is bears had their chance. And really, the last thing standing as of right now is a lower high on the daily to then shift into a much bigger downtrend. A lower high meaning we've already cracked our market structure bearishly in the form of a lower low, right? Obviously, this is lower than this low. So all you need is a lower high anywhere lower than this high, and that confirms a downtrend on the daily. A downtrend on the daily doesn't necessarily need to happen or need to imply that a massive downtrend is going to happen, that a bear market is on the way. It doesn't necessarily mean all of those things. As we can see, this is a fully shifted downtrend on our daily chart. This is higher low still, so we're good. Lower high. At some point, your 4 hour starts to turn bearish over here, and you say, oh shit, this is now a lower high. That's a break in our structure. Because our lower time frames have flipped back bearish once again without continuing and creating a higher high, we can look back in hindsight and say this is a lower high. We tapped a supply zone, so maybe we're going to shift our market structure bearishly. And then from there, you do go on and you create a lower low. Simply put, this low is lower than here, right? So at that point, you have a bearish market structure as of right here. You would think that this leads to anything significant, and instead you form lower high. Great, that's still well within the terms of our downtrend, right? We're expecting lower highs and lower lows. Then you get higher low. Oh shit, that's a break in your bearish market structure. Higher high. All of a sudden you're back bullish again. And from there, you keep uptrending. This is higher high, higher low, higher high, and your higher high just keeps going up into a new all-time high. And all of a sudden, this breakdown, this full shift in your bearish market structure on the daily chart meant absolutely nothing. Right? So we're on the verge of potentially forming a bearish market structure. It doesn't necessarily mean that doomsday happens once that occurs. It does mean in order for doomsday to happen, you have to shift into a bearish market structure first, right? So, will BTC enter a bearish market structure on the daily? I don't have an answer for you. I wish I could tell you. The only thing that I can tell you is we've broken above this daily supply zone, right? And our lower time frames are bullish once again. So for the time being, it should be clear skies up into a lower high at any next logical resistance point at the very least, as long as our lower time frames remain bullish. If our lower time frames lose their strength and we all of a sudden lose this 47K demand zone now, and we lose the 200 daily MA, right? Then we come back in hindsight and say, oh shit, everything is bearish, down, 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 right? Every single time frame is telling us downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. This was the lower high on the daily. Let me expect a lower low, right? If that happens, that's when we come in and we make that analysis. For now, as long as our lower time frames are bullish, I'm not seeing too much in terms of daily resistance. So I would just simply anticipate that we head up into the next logical resistance area at the very least. What that is, I would say, is 49.7K, somewhere in that region, right? So simply put, reclaim here probably means a move up into here. Reclaim this 4 hour supply probably means a move up into the next 4 hour supply. Reclaim that 4 hour supply probably means you're not putting in a lower high on the daily at all, right? Once you crack above here, because where's there a logical spot to put in a lower high? So you probably head back up to here, and I would think that this breaks on the second time around, or maybe at the very least, we sweep these highs, right? That's the way that I'm thinking about this. I'm just looking to play this level by level. At the moment, bulls are in control, and the way that I'm seeing this is bears, you had your chance. If you were bearish on Bitcoin, if you're calling for zero, if you're calling for 40K, if you're calling for 30K, whatever, you had your chance here where we break our daily market structure bearishly, we flip the 47K demand zone, right? Daily demand into supply. We have a 4 hour bearish market structure of lower highs and lower lows. We have lost the 4 hour 200s. We're trending below the hourly 200s. And yet we reclaimed all of that, and it's now all acting as support, right? It's all support now. All of those confluence in resistance, all those bearish arguments that we just had as of really 2 days ago, right? The last live stream, when I'm coming in and I'm saying, as long as we're still below X, Y, Z, right? A, B, C, and D, as long as we're still below all those regions, these live streams are going to be bearish. These live streams are going to be pessimistic. These live streams are going to be saying, expect lower, expect lower, expect lower. And if you can't deal with that mentally, then don't even show up to the stream. Just do yourself a favor, right? The same arguments that we made for that stream and just 2 days ago are now all confluent in bullish arguments now. They are all support as to why this should extend or at least continue, right? Extend or continue. So just like we analyzed for the way down, right? And then even though we didn't see them act as macro support, we didn't see that region act as macro support, we did see it get used as macro resistance, right? Very strong rejections, very clean rejections off of this area. So just like we assumed resistance or support, I'll assume support once again, meaning this zone should be defended. If we instead lose this region, this is the lower high on the daily that we were looking for, right? This move was a deviation to the range. We can target range lows. We can probably expect a lower low on the daily, all of those things. And all of a sudden, the confluence in bullish arguments that we're making today then flip back into bearish arguments that we were just making 2 days ago. If that keeps on happening, let's say that we do break down and we all of a sudden go from bearish to bearish all within 3 or 4 days or 5 days or whatever. That's when we want to start kind of pulling back on our trend analysis and kind of start assuming chop more than anything. At that point, our hourly 200s are probably, they've probably gone from slope downwards to slope upwards to sort of just neutral. And our 4 hour 200s are already sort of neutral. And this is very choppy price action. So if we start to lose, right, where we expect, okay, expansion, and we expect downside, okay, expansion, we expect reclaim, all right, expansion, right, and instead we just kind of lose and then lose and then lose. You want to throw your trend analysis out the window. You want to start anticipating chop more than anything, and then be sort of, I don't know, hard to shake out of that mentality of I expect chop, and if you're anticipating a breakout, you're putting yourself in a position to get absolutely screwed over by the market, right? That's kind of how I want to start thinking about this. If our trend analysis that we've heavily relied on for the past year and a half all of a sudden starts to become very choppy, similar to this price action here, right? Where we see breakdown and we anticipate expansion because we finally broken down. We get the expansion, we say, oh shit, all right, that's significant. And then we see another move up. All right, this is probably a lower high on the daily, probably going to expand further down. And instead you find higher low, reclaim. You say, oh shit, this now looks like a fluke. This looks like we've reclaimed a major trend and we're off to the races. And this zone is only a matter of time before it breaks. And once that zone breaks, we see new all time highs for Bitcoin once again. And instead, you see resistance get tapped and then you lose your major support level. But oh, wait, now you lose your major support level. But oh, wait, now you hold on to this support level, right? This daily demand. So then, and this is the exact same daily demand that we rejected off of. So now you hold this daily demand. You say, okay, well, we held the support, right? And we're trending upwards as a higher low on the daily, and we reclaim the 4 hour 200, so we probably expand again. And yet you get rejected, and then you lose your 4 hour 200s once again. So if you're the person who's expecting, let me clean this up really quick. If you're the person who's expecting expansion, right? And then, oh shit, expansion downwards, we're screwed. And then expansion, oh shit, we reclaimed, right? And then, oh shit, we're downwards, we're screwed. And then, oh wait, we reclaimed. You're getting destroyed by the market. After this time, right, when we should reclaim and then expand, and all we do is higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? And then we just lower low, we lose our support. After this, you want to stop looking for the trend. You want to start looking for just more of a level by level analysis and anticipating some sort of chop, right? If we lose this region, what's the likely outcome? Probably that we head to the next one, right? That's what happened here. So that's when you want to take things level by level more than anything, right? See the support level get tapped multiple times, didn't act as resistance, but reclaim support, support, support. So what happens if we lose this region? Logical outcome is you lose this zone, you're probably done chopping sideways. You probably really are expanding downwards into the next support level this time, right? So if we fall into that trap, which it's very hypothetical, it's something that is not even close to happening yet. But if that is what happens, then that's the mindset we want to shift into. Currently, we're in the mindset that we had a strong, potent downtrend. We lost a major trend. We should have expanded downwards on a high time frame. Instead, we reclaimed the trend. We should be off to the races once again, right? But don't just sit in this mentality and be complacent. If this zone gets lost, look for the downside, look to play things level by level. Next logical level on the 4 hour, somewhere around here, right? So meaning we lose this region, probably just going to see level by level analysis. This is the next target, right? We lose here, probably see here. We lose there, probably see here. At this point, you're probably expanding very heavily away from any sort of, from any sort of choppy analysis, and you're forming a strong downtrend. Truthfully, that is my analysis on Bitcoin. There's not much else to say on any other time frame. Get rid of this. The hourly did show us some signs of strength yesterday, which was nice. We talked about it in live market updates in Discord. Hourly 200s very strongly sloped downwards and then test as resistance, and we know that they've been acting as pretty solid support and resistance as of recent, right? So they've been pretty solid, and hourly 200s for Bitcoin tend to be pretty solid historically anyways. So reclaiming them, that's the first true sign of strength. I mean, the first significant sign of strength. The first sign of strength we said was the 15-minute 200s, right? We got chopped up. It meant nothing. This was that crazy weirdness, whatever happened here. I don't even remember what this was. And then this was the Litecoin Walmart fake announcement, whatever. But then reclaiming these, first sign of strength, reclaiming the hourly 200s, first sign of notable strength, So now we're going sideways, momentum sideways, and we're expanding upwards. So even if we do pull back, these should start to slope up and act as support, higher low on the 4-hour, things like that for expansion. And we have a ton of confluence in this region on the higher time frames, as we just discussed, right? Meaning if you lose all of these regions, this bullish analysis goes out the window right about here. So that's what I'm looking for Bitcoin. And that is about it. ETH/USD. Oh, there's already a bunch of squiggles on this chart. Forgot to delete these. ETH/USD. Couple of different ways you could argue this. You could say lower low and then lower high, higher low, and this is in the process of potentially making a higher high. Personally, I'm going to make the same analysis as Bitcoin. I'm just going to say that this is all one low, and this is technically a lower low. And I get this question pretty often, and the question is, "Hey Merc, do you consider this a lower low, even though it was just a wick and we closed daily candles higher?" And my answer is always going to be yes, just for the simple fact that I'm going to take things as they are. I'm not going to take my context of the situation into perspective or anything like that. I want to remain as least speculative as possible. And I kind of just want to assume that whatever the chart is showing me, that's what's really going on, right? So I'm assuming lower low, and we're in the form or in the process of finding a lower high on the daily, just like we are on Bitcoin. And if we break certain levels, if we start to reclaim certain regions, then all of a sudden it becomes more or I'm sorry, actually less likely that we put in any lower high on the daily for Ethereum at all, right? So what are those levels that we can watch out for? Currently testing 4-hour supply zone here, and then the next one is just under this low, meaning we could come up to 3840 on ETH and still potentially be bearish on the daily. That hurts to say, but it's the honest truth. The good thing is the 4-hour 200s and this daily demand zone, you could even argue weekly demand, truthfully, um, for ETH at around 3,300-ish region are both being held on to. It's choppy. It started to get disrespected. It definitely was not the cleanest price action, especially when we're used to it getting perfectly respected, to the T. But they held on. So at the end of the day, you can't really ask for much more than this. Everything isn't always going to be perfectly to the tap, right? Dandelions and butterflies, and everyone gets their pinpoint entry on a macro trade or whatever. So, nonetheless, they've held up. They are support as of right now. And if we start to close daily candles, even 4-hour candles beneath them once again, then maybe we are entering this sort of chop, and the lows somewhere around here would be expected. Once you start to expand below the lows, that's when you can say, all right, we're done chopping. We're done with this sideways downtrend, whatever you want to call it, for this sort of like filler, right, in between our invalidation and the lows. And we're now expanding, and I can expect the next major daily support to get tapped. And if we lose that, I'll expect the next one. If we lose that, I'll expect the next one, over and over and over again, right? At the moment, the lower time frames for ETH are also bullish. We've held on to support regions. Our lower time frames are trending upwards. So we test this next resistance, right? Simple level to level analysis. If we do reject off of this resistance, we're going to anticipate that our high time frame support confluence acts as a higher low to continue the uptrend. And if instead we kind of just keep impulsing and break out above here, then just like we would have made a level by level analysis from here to here, we'll do the exact same thing and say level by level from here to here, right? So from here, you're probably a take profiter just for the simple fact that we might find a lower high on the daily chart and flip into a macro downtrend, right? But once you break above here, very unlikely that you find a lower high on the daily at all. And I would think you probably see ETH head up into new all-time highs at that point because there's truthfully not much here. Right, so this little region is kind of this supply zone, if you want to think about it like that. And once you break out above here, not too much stopping you. All right, hourly 200s, a little bit cleaner than Bitcoin, just because they were closer to price action, so price could actually somewhat test them. We saw them act as resistance a few times, and then saw this choppy sideways throughout them. And Merck put out a an update in live market updates in Discord today and said ETH is objectively weaker than Bitcoin at the moment, right about here. And ETH said, "Oh, really?" And here we are at the next resistance level, right? So reclaiming here, first notable sign of strength into this resistance. Resistance is resistance. That's logical. The fact that we are somewhat pulling back right now. Even if we do pull back, you want to see the hourly 200s hold. You want to see the 4-hour 200s hold. You want to see this daily demand zone hold for higher lows, right? And trend continuation, bases to start forming for continuation. Or we just keep going and break out above here too, right? The thing you don't want to see is we lose the support levels after reclaiming them. We start trending downwards. We're losing the 4-hour 200s, stuff like that. Really quick, ETH BTC. Oh, it looks not too bad actually. ETH BTC actually is breaking out of consolidation structure at the moment. So if you guys recall, I believe last Friday, I'm not sure. I think last Friday, somewhere around here, I said, this looks like it's going to start forming consolidation more than anything, just the way that these lower highs are being put in and these 4-hour 200s are sloped, knowing that we do respect the 4-hour 200s pretty well. And we said, we think this consolidation will start forming higher lows and lower highs for ETH BTC, and whichever way this breaks probably determines the higher time frame trend. Meaning if you break down from consolidation, you're breaking down from the 4-hour 200s, you're breaking down from this support level, probably just anticipate the move lower. And if instead you break up, you can look for the lower time frame resistance, probably 0.076, somewhere around there. And level to level, breakout leads to here. This breakout leads to maybe weekly supply zone. So far so good. The consolidation structure held up very well, especially for making that analysis before the consolidation even formed. Kudos to me. I want a cookie, by the way. And hourly 200s were acting as these lower highs within the consolidation. So that's nice now. Like we have a clear sort of indication of what can we use as lower highs and what can we use as higher lows when you're looking for the lower highs within this consolidation. This is that symmetrical triangle that JC, Depsuo, Martian might even draw. And all it is portraying we're forming lower highs and higher lows. And we're using these hourly 200s as the lower highs, and we're using the 4-hour 200s as higher lows. So whichever one of those break also breaks the market structure and might even break the resistance or support level along with that. So this looks pretty promising. I'm very hesitant as of right now because we're still within that resistance level. So I'd want to see just a little bit more continuation. The slope of these moving averages has just barely started to go neutral rather than down. So I don't want to jump in right now, just assuming that this is the break in the structure and that this is the bullish retest and we're off to the races. I kind of would like to see more of a convincing reclaim. Something like this, maybe a consolidation above the resistance now, maybe consistent tests of these hourly 200s as support, or even just a nice reaction and then maybe a higher low pullback onto something like the 5 or 15-minute 200 moving averages for me to ride that like strong uptrend, the impulse breakout, if that's what happens. Whatever happens next, but that's what I would want to see. I'm very hesitant to jump in right here, right now, and just say, this is the breakout. We are off to the races, and point oh 0.08, what is it, 0.084 is next for ETH BTC. All right, that'd be fine and dandy and all. And if you are the person that's betting on the consolidation, maybe it's a good bet, right? If you took long here, and I would hide my stop loss below these lows. And then target would be that weekly supply zone. So 5.2R, decent probability, I would say, not the greatest because this is just a little smidge right now, right? It's not a convincing reclaim, it's just a hint of optimism. So that might be worth it for you. To me, with my personal portfolio, it's not. So I wouldn't send this as a trade or anything like that, but it's definitely a viable setup if it fits for you. Um, Last but not least, Bitcoin dominance. This is another reason why we kind of want to be a little bit more hesitant. Bitcoin dominance, let's get one thing out of the way. On the daily chart for dominance, this did exactly what we wanted it to do. Like, it could not have been better. We said dominance, level to level analysis. We want to ride the trend, right? We want to show up to the party, we want to ride that wave for as long as possible. It'd just be the take profiter at areas where it makes sense to take profit and then analyze later if doomsday starts to happen, right? When's it more probable for a doomsday to happen? And as long as the probabilities of doomsday have not changed, then neither will our positions, right? Until we reach certain levels. Certain levels was, hey, we break out from or we break down from 44 points for dominance and we probably head to the next level at 40 points. And dominance did exactly that. We're currently seeing dominance bounce from this quote unquote support level. And that's logical, right? We should have been a take a profiter there anyways. Kind of just makes sense, level to level. Want to adjust for the doomsday before it happens. And in order for you to do that, you kind of have to take profit. So, where do you do that at? 40 points is the logical level. We've been discussing this, and it's worked out pretty nicely thus far. For the overall trend, right? When does doomsday seem likely? When is doomsday all of a sudden probable rather than speculative? That's more of the 4-hour time frame. The 4-hour 200s going sideways would be strongly different than them sloping onwards. And that's me just putting things very bluntly. The probabilities change if your momentum is all of a sudden sideways, whereas previously it was favoring heavily downside. It's that simple. So once these start to smoothen out, I start to think about things in the terms of 50-50, meaning for all of this downtrend, if we're assuming probabilities, which is all we really can do, if we're below the 4-hour 200s and they're strongly sloped towards the downside, what's the probability of dominance ripping and reversing very strongly? And I would say the probability of this happening is very slim. Very, very slim. If all of a sudden we're going sideways what's the probability? It's probably not 50-50, but in my head, I think about it as 50-50. And it's just that simple. A 50-50 probability is much higher and much more significant of a risk than an 80-20 or a 90-10 or even a 70-30, right? And then when your momentum is very strongly sloped towards the upside, what's the probability of dominance reversing very quickly towards the downside? And I would say, again, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, whatever. So probabilities haven't changed as of yet. If they do change, you better believe I'm going to be the person who adjusts and adjusts very quickly. I've already taken some profit on altcoins. Dominance gave us the majority of this move already. If we keep going down, great. If not, we'll look for invalidations. We'll look for points along the way and try and analyze probabilities that way. So then we repeat the same exact process on the hourly chart for dominance. And the hourly chart, we do the exact same thing. We say, okay, these hourly 200s very strongly slope towards the downside. We can see that dominance tends to respect them somewhat nicely. Very strongly sloped towards the downside. Somewhere around here is when we said, hey guys, show up to the altcoin party. Things are booming, right? You want to be at this party, get on the dance floor. And then we continue our trend, sort of flatten out at support. That makes sense. Support is support, whatever. This is a take profit area for sure. We continue downtrending and we break down from support. That's where our level by level analysis kicks into play, and level by level from here to about here. Right? So then we continue. The trend is the trend. The trend is the trend. The trend is the trend. Yeah, this is a crazy impulse, but how do I know that this time's any different than this time? I don't. We continue downtrending, lower low on the 4-hour, whatever. And oh shit, wait, is a tiny little sliver of hope, right, for dominance that we might come up and test the higher time frame trend. So those 4-hour 200s. So I'll move this down right about there. So this tiny little sliver of hope means that we have a higher probability of continuing a move upwards into the higher time frame sort of invalidation level, meaning from here to here. That move is now significantly more probable than it was for any of this price action. And that's it. That's all that means. So, personal opinion, if you're not the one that de-risked on the way down, I'd be the one de-risking right here. That's me. That's how I manage my portfolio personally. But it's up to you. Can't really tell you what to do. If we keep downtrending, if this move up on the hourly means absolutely nothing, you will thank yourself for not listening, right? And we continue downtrending. But my argument is, what's the harm in not just taking profit right here, assuming maybe at the very least we get a 3% move upwards on dominance. And then if I'm wrong, or if we're all wrong, and we continue the downtrend, you just re-enter, right? What is the harm? The harm is you missed out on an extra negative 75 or negative 0.75% on on Bitcoin dominance, which is probably altcoins outperforming by, I would say, 5, maybe 10%. Right? What's the harm in that? For saving yourself a 20% outperforming on Bitcoin potentially. Right? That's the way I'm thinking about things, level by level, time frame by time frame, probabilities. One time frame gives you slightly more insight towards the next time frame's probabilities, and so on and so forth. If you snowball that all the way up into the 4-hour, all the way up into the daily, all of a sudden you have a pretty nice indication or feeling of what dominance is doing on a macro time frame. So that's the way that I'm thinking about this. So far, so good. Dominance has been one of my favorite things to make an analysis on in these streams. Command Z is undo. Don't need to use the object tree all the time. Yeah, I know that. I just find it easier to do the object tree. I do use it's Control Z for me, but yeah, I do use Control Z when I just do a couple squiggles. But when I'm drawing a whole Picasso on the chart, I got to pull out that object tree. Plus, I'm constantly changing like the time frame and whatnot. I'm doing this, and if I do Control Z, it moves it back. So it's just weird. So I'd rather just do the object tree like that. Xcode wants Ray USD. Before we move on, is there any questions or any comments on anything that we just said? Is the party music stopping? I don't think it's stopping, but for the moment, it seems to someone skipped the song. Right? I think that's the best way to put it. Somebody skipped the song. We were all dancing and we were all partying to like I don't know what's a good song to dance to. I don't know. Something by Rihanna, probably. Right? Right? We're all sitting there dancing, we're having a good time, and then somebody accidentally skips the song. That's what that is. And so we're all kind of just like confused right now. And we're like, what the hell? Are we going to go back to that song? Or are we just going to go on to the next one and pretend like that never happened? That's what this is to me. This is not us leaving the party yet. This isn't the party stopped. It's not the music stopped. It's not the DJ left. But it is someone accidentally skipped the song. I love that analogy for how stupid and kiddish it is, but I think it's a really great analogy, man. Swedish House Mafia. There you go. Yeah. Um, early warning shock signs. Okay, so a couple requests. Shockmox has a question real quick. So, lost all your trading view settings and can't remember how to set up the 200 EMAs. Can I show my settings? Yeah. So I have. Actually, let me show you favorites. So the one that I'm using is EMA/MA by Vaporista. And this is the best one that I've found. I found a bunch of them. There's crowns that I know a lot of people use. You can honestly make your own if you're that talented, but that's the one that I use. Seemed to be the best for me, and all just because it has all these MAs and EMAs that you can use. And then I just use 200 EMA and then 200 MA, and that's it. EMA is green, MA is whoops. EMA is blue and simple MA is green. So that's all. Vaporista is the guy that made the indicator. Thank you for the cookie. I appreciate it. The cookie for the analysis on dominance. All right. Can we look at Ray USDC? Going to use the FTX chart. All right, so Ray just barely made price discovery new all-time highs as of recent. The daily chart on this, let's not get it screwed up, let's not get it twisted. This is higher highs, higher lows, price discovery, new all-time highs, bears are dumb, whatever. That's what this chart is on the daily time frame. There's no real debating against that. There's no real argument against that. There's no real scare for the higher time frames until you lose this daily demand zone, right? The same exact zone that acted as all-time highs over here acted as major resistance, I'm going to say, over here. acted as major resistance, acted as major support, acted as major resistance, and currently acting as major support. Once you lose that region, that's when things really start to seem like a complete fluke, and that this move up was going to be like a new all-time high supply zone moving forward. Meaning any move up on Ray up into 1550, we have to see that as this is supply now. This is major supply. We need to flip this zone before we can head up to price discovery and make the whole bears are dumb sort of analysis, right? So if we lose this 1270 region, that's what I would be afraid of. I'd be afraid of that zone now all of a sudden acting as a macro supply zone on something like a weekly time frame. And now we're just coming down to fill out this like white space some here on Ray, anywhere in between like here and here. That's what I would be very, very afraid of if this region gets lost. So then lower time frames, we zoom in, lower time frames for Ray. 4 hour 200s, as we can see, nothing too crazy. They get respected somewhat well, but for the most part, still holding them, still above them. They are confluent with this 1080 zone. It's also daily demand. And then ideally, we want to find whatever we're trending along for this move upwards. I believe it might have been the hourly 200s. And if I'm correct, we're below those right now, unless I saw something wrong. But for the moment, on the 4 hour chart, this looks okay, just because we're holding on to this daily demand zone. The thing is, we're trending in a bearish market structure on the 4 hour. So if we were going to lose our trend, if we were going to lose this demand zone and then come down and test this bigger daily demand along with the 4 hour 200s for maybe just a pity bounce, right? Or maybe a full reversal, reclaim of the trend or whatever, um, this has to happen first. This is bearish price action on your 4 hour, and I'm going to guess on your hourly as well. And yeah, it is. So hourly 200s for Ray have been very solid. Very, very, very solid. Consistent macro bottoms for the entire trend upwards. And then once this happens, we zoom in, we say, oh shit, we've lost the hourly 200s. We're desperately holding on to this demand zone. If this zone gets lost, this is screwed. We are screwed. Get the fuck out of Ray. Sell everything. We're going to zero. Get out, get out, get out, level to level. And the next level is 18% lower than here. We've already lost our trend, and our 4 hour is already trending bearishly, right? That's the analysis. If instead we reclaim the hourly 200s, then maybe everything's okay and this move was a fluke and we've reclaimed our trend and we're back to the races. And you do that, and price never really gave you a re-entry zone. You either took the bet and had to stop hiding below this region, or you bought this region and had to stop hiding below this wick or whatever, or you immediately market bought the impulse, but you never even got your reclaim, retest of the trend, whatever. It was just, hey, we're above the trend again, off to the races. You either caught it or you didn't. So then you say, okay, in hindsight, this was a fluke. Whether you're in this or not, you want to trade the trend. You want to look for upside on Ray. And we see higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We're above the hourly 200s. How do you know that this time's different? I don't, right? And then, oh shit, we've lost the hourly 200s. We're breaking down from the trend. Our 4 hour market structure is bearish. Lower high, lower low. We're testing this daily demand zone again, right? Same exact daily demand zone, very similar to here. We're testing this daily demand zone. If we lose this daily demand zone, get the fuck out of Ray. Oh my God, we're going to zero. This shit's fucked, right? And we're heading to the next level, and the next level is negative 23% lower from our invalidation. Probably don't want to be in Ray at that point. And if instead we reclaim the trend, probably okay. Same exact thing. Reclaim the trend. Doesn't give you the initial impact or initial retest buyback, anything like this. Nothing pretty. You reclaim your hourly 200s. Impulse. New high. All of a sudden, this was just simply a higher low on the daily. And then from there, retest the trend. Great. Retest the trend. Great. Breaking down once again. So just like I would have proceeded with caution, let me get rid of all these. Just like I would have proceeded with caution here and here, right? And I want to be making the analysis that, oh shit, if we lose X, Y, and Z region, this is X, this is Y, and now this is Z. If we lose X, we're screwed. If we lose Y, we're screwed. If we lose Z, we're screwed, right? We've already lost the trend. Our 4-hour market structure is already bearish. So at that point, probably don't want to be in Ray. Get the hell out. We're screwed. We're heading to the next level. Next level is negative 14%. Next level is negative 23%. Next level is negative 18%. So same exact sort of analysis here. And then the same analysis for the upside as well, right? If we reclaim the trend, this was probably something like a higher low on the daily time frame. That makes sense. This was the higher low on the daily. This was the higher low on the daily. This makes sense to be a higher low on the daily. If we reclaim the trend, this was probably the higher low on the daily. And what do we know to expect from something that's creating higher highs and higher lows? And then if we reclaim the trend here, and now every single time frame is confluently saying higher highs, higher lows, uptrend, bears are dumb, price discovery, whatever, probably expect the 1.618 fib. So that's my breakdown on Ray. That's exactly how I would play it, level by level, time frame by time frame. I'd be zoomed into this hourly and saying, if we reclaim this, it's go time, right? You can spike and reject off of this however much you want. And if I'm long, then this low is truly my invalidation. And if instead we reclaim this region, it's go time. This was the higher low on the daily. I put my stop loss below here. I put my stop loss below the trend, whatever I can justify, and I get long and I'm looking for new all-time highs. That's the analysis that I'm looking to make. So something like this, on a reclaim of the trend, I enter here, get in, and ride the trend, and my TP is all the way here. And on the way up, I kind of just want to take profit here at these highs. Maybe I take profit a little bit before then just so I can sleep better at night. Maybe I take profit somewhere in the gray space in between just so I can sleep better at night. But the whole time I am adamant that Ray comes up into 1.618, and until we're below the hourly 200s, you can't tell me otherwise. The other variation to this trade, which I would not be taking right now, is get in as close as you can to this zone and kind of just hide your stop loss below it. Right, so the difference between a 14.9R trade and a 10R trade. Dot USDT. All right, so dot USDT looks really good on the daily, higher highs, higher lows. The only thing that I don't like is we're heading up into this major daily resistance level. So somewhere around like 39.40-ish. Actually, I wonder if you can even see this on fixed range volume. let's see. Yeah, a little bit. So like somewhere around here, there's daily resistance. That makes sense. That area got respected pretty decently. Slightly above that as well. So I would just say this is one like confluent daily supply zone. And then you have this little spike here, and that's also daily resistance. That's the only thing that really puts me off about DOT. Once you reclaim this daily resistance, there's not much stopping you from heading up into new all-time highs. Like, you don't just crack all of this supply, right? For this to stop you. It's just not probable. So I would very, very much assume new all-time highs are on the way for DOT if this 40.50 zone gets flipped into support. And then really just from there, I'm looking for crazy, stupid new all-time highs, right? Magic numbers, fibs. I just want to assume that this gets tapped because we're in uncharted waters and I don't know where this stops and neither do you. And this next one gets tapped, the next one, and the next one. So lots of upside potential for DOT. And then my argument is what's the difference between buying a couple percent, right, 10% below the supply zone or buying right above the supply zone? And what's the difference between 100% below resistance or 80% above the resistance? This is a probable 80%. This is a maybe 100%, right? To me, this makes a lot more sense. And then we zoom into the 4 hour. 4 hour 200s for DOT. Pretty nicely respected historically. Haven't really seen them do too much as of recent. Over here on that like liquidation cascade a few days ago, we saw the 4 hour 200s get tested along with the 200 daily EMA get tested as well. So that was a nice region to buy the dip on. And if you did, congratulations, you bought the higher low on the daily, whatever, blah, 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 and higher high and continuation of the trend. Great. Every single time frame is confluent, telling you uptrend right now, or every single notable time frame at least. Everything's saying uptrend. The only thing that's off-putting to this chart is this zone. If we pull back, we're still looking for a higher low on the daily. So to me, DOT is still bullish up until $29. You pull back into this region, and that's the ideal buy the trend zone, buy the higher time frame trend, buy the higher low on the daily, and then look for the higher high into this resistance and maybe even above this resistance into new all-time highs, right? That level would be ideal for me. Once this gets lost, I'm done buying the dip on DOT, right? I'm done buying the dip on something that was trending bullishly for 2 months. And prior to that, was trending very strongly bearish for 3 months along a dynamic region along the 200 daily EMA with a higher low, higher high market structure on the daily. And all of that just broke. And at this point, that's when I stop looking to buy the dip. Maybe you just buy the pity bounce, you're looking for a quick scalp. Great. Maybe you're the investor mentality and you want each and every single one of these demand zones. Great. You just want a dollar cost average. You don't care what price is. You think DOT is going to the moon sometime in the future. Great. But for me, I'm no longer interested in buying dips after that zone gets lost, which means that's also the ideal buy zone for me. In the meantime, as long as every notable time frame is saying higher highs, higher lows, uptrend, it's unlikely that I get my ideal buy zone. It is. It's unlikely. So we have to zoom in and say, okay, if we are going to trade the trend, whatever the current trend up is for this leg, then how do I get in on DOT? If I'm unlikely to get my entry at 29 whatever, right, to test the higher time frame trend, because testing the higher time frame trend means that my 15-minute has to break down, my hourly has to break down, we have to lose the hourly 200s, my 4 hour structure has to break down, right? So what's the probability of all those things happening? It's very low. So in the meantime, I'd be watching the hourly 200s. The hourly 200s have been very clean and consistent macro bottoms and macro tops for dot recently, truthfully. So for this entire leg upwards into major resistance, consistent macro bottom. All of this month-long trend. Then you lose them and you see a bit of a downtrend. Similar to Ray, you held on to this demand zone. Had you lost this demand zone, that's why I come in and say dot looks absolutely screwed. This chart looks awful. This is now strongly sloped towards the downside. You're now using the exact same region that you used as macro bottoms for the past month. You're now using them as macro tops. You've lost this support level. I would think level to level analysis into here and then into here and some higher time frame supports, whatever, right? Instead, we reclaim the trend. Reclaiming the trend, we even back tested the trend, and then we're off to the races again. And we lose the trend, liquidation cascade, and then, oh, surprise, surprise, the exact same thing that you've been using as your trend for the past month and a half acts as a little top here. Very solid pullback. Test this demand zone. Demand zone holds. Had it not held, I would have said dots heading to here. Demand zone holds. This is the reclaim retest of the trend. In hindsight, you say, oh shit, this was the test that I wanted to buy. This is the higher low on the 4-hour. We've reclaimed the trend. We're off to the races again. Retest the trend, off to the races. So in the meantime, I'd just be looking to trade the trend. I'm a buyer along the hourly 200s. And if they get lost, that's when I want to zoom out and assume, okay, now I can look for my $29 ideal buy zone, and that's much higher of a chance to actually come to my entry, right? Much higher probability for my entry to actually even get tapped. Whereas right now, there's a low chance that that happens. Can you explain how to interpret Bitcoin dominance? Does Bitcoin dominance going up mean that BTC is going up? Should we be in BTC only at that point, or does it mean we don't trade altcoins? So it doesn't necessarily mean anything, actually. All it means is that the market cap of BTC is going up against the market cap of altcoins. So actually, it doesn't even necessarily mean, and it doesn't mean at all that if Bitcoin dominance is going up, then Bitcoin goes up. That's not how it works. Bitcoin dominance can go up and Bitcoin goes down. And very often we see that happen. And the reason being is Bitcoin will have a crazy liquidation cascade like this day. And everything goes down, right? The whole market goes down, but altcoins just go down more. So Bitcoin dominance goes up. There are also times when Bitcoin goes up and it sucks the life out of altcoins, and Bitcoin dominance also goes up. There's times where Bitcoin dominance goes down as Bitcoin's going up, but altcoins are just going up more, so Bitcoin dominance goes down. Those are usually the ways that we want to think about this. But really, that doesn't actually have to be any of the ways that dominance is used. So like that's the way that I interpret it and that's the way that I assume it. But when you really dig in deeper, Bitcoin dominance can go up, and let's just for example say that XRP goes down. XRP obviously has a much bigger market cap than say DOT or say BNB. Does it have a bigger market cap than BNB? I don't know. Say your favorite shitcoin, whatever your shitcoin is. It's a low cap shitcoin. I can't really think of one right now. Oh my god. Sushi dot whatever. Compared to XRP, it's a very low cap coin, meaning whatever happens to XRP is going to affect Bitcoin dominance much more than, if Tron goes down. It's not really a big factor. So XRP could go down and make Bitcoin dominance go up, but every single other altcoin could still be going up. So it can be misleading. But typically, generally speaking, everything that I just said prior to this shitty example that I'm trying to give is how I think about Bitcoin dominance. It tends to mean if Bitcoin dominance is going up, you're much better off just trading Bitcoin, and that usually altcoins are having a hard time outperforming against BTC. And if Bitcoin dominance is going down, then you can use altcoins as sort of like a leverage tool for Bitcoin because they tend to outperform Bitcoin. That's usually how you want to use it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is what's going on. Because, for example, XRP could go down, the market cap for XRP could go down, and literally every other altcoin could go up, and just XRP going down could make Bitcoin dominance go up. So it's not always a fair indication, but it is a pretty good general tool. When you pair this with ETH BTC, that ETH BTC chart, it's pretty solid because Bitcoin dominance and ETH BTC tend to move inversely to each other. Because if the king of altcoins is going up against Bitcoin, then it probably means that altcoins are also going up against Bitcoin. Right? If the king of altcoins can't outperform Bitcoin, it probably means that other altcoins can't outperform Bitcoin. And it's usually a pretty solid indicator, generally within like 98% of the market overall. Of course, you're always going to have those two stragglers or the two, outliers to that norm or the general rule or whatever. You might have a handful even. So, like for the 2019 bear market, Link and BNB and even Raven Coin, I believe, somehow all outperformed Bitcoin for all of 2019, I want to say. So there's always going to be the outliers, but generally that's how we want to think about Bitcoin dominance. I hope that wasn't too confusing because I wasn't a huge fan of the way that I just explained that, but all right, guys, we've only been here for about an hour. Is there anything else that you guys want from me? Any other questions? Last minute requests? Anything like that? Soul? This guy's got Soul in his. No, it wasn't already covered. Got Soul in his Discord name. Of course he wants Soul. All right. Soul USD. Beautiful example of higher highs, higher lows, price discovery. Just zoom out, assume that bears are dumb, look for the next take profit area. 1.618 held up beautifully. 2.618 saw a nice rejection. 3.618 got ran through, and 4.236 is currently acting as the macro top. So the way that I see this now is Sol is kind of testing the first major support level. And that's just this 4-hour supply zone that we formed back here in early September. And we've since tested it as support or demand multiple times since then. Right? Currently, Sol is trending in a bearish market structure. There's no debating this. This is a low, this is a lower high, this is a lower low, it's a lower high, lower low, and this currently is looking like it's another lower high. So this structure implies that this zone breaks sooner or later. If it does break, level to level analysis, simple analysis is from here sees here. Right? Somewhere in this region, that's the next support level on the hourly. That's the 4-hour 200s. confluence in that zone. So that'd be the next sort of desired destination for Sol after that, right? In the meantime, I'd be watching the hourly 200s. Hourly 200s, consistent and very clean. Very, very, very nice. Macro top, macro top, macro top, macro bottom. Macro bottom all the way through. This is that, oh shit, let me reevaluate, right? Sol is screwed. We're going to zero tomorrow. We're probably going to head down to the next level. The next level is, let's say, here. That's that next hourly demand zone. We're absolutely screwed. This was the macro top. Get the fuck out. Bears are no longer dumb. Oh my god, it's doomsday. And then you reclaim the trend and you assume that you're off to the races and that this move was a fluke. And when we zoom out, it was. Right? So then every time after that, hourly 200s get tapped, macro bottom, get tapped, macro bottom, get tapped. And then, oh shit, we're using them as resistance again. So this is where you come back in with your Sol is the heaviest thing on planet Earth analysis. We're fucked. We're going to zero, level to level. We break down from one level. We're probably going to head and test, right? We break down from the hourly 200s. We're probably going to test this next demand zone. We break down from this demand zone. We're going to test over here. That's the 4-hour 200s mixed with hourly demand. We're screwed. We're screwed. We're screwed. And if instead we reclaim, this was a fluke. Bears, you had your chance. You looked like geniuses for a little bit, right? A couple days, but in the end, you meant nothing. You had your chance. You couldn't do anything off of it. And we're probably going back to new all time highs, right? Or at the very least, we're probably heading back to 190. So that's how I would look at Sol right now. The way I see is you desperately need to hold on to this zone as support. And you very much need to reclaim this trend that you've been using for the past 2 months. And confluent with this trend, let's just get rid of this stuff. Confluent with the hourly 200 MA trend, you break above these, you're also breaking your 4-hour market structure, right? You could even say that there's hourly supply in this region as well. So right about here, this is when you want to look back in hindsight and say, oh, okay, this was a higher low in the daily for Sol. This was a macro bottom, probably going to head up into 190. That's that level to level analysis. So level to level here, sees here. And then, yeah. And then here sees 6.85, which is just more price discovery. Same exact analysis that we would have made over here. All right. Anything else that you guys want from me? Nope. Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, I'm assuming that everybody just is being nice to me and letting me go early, because an hour stream is pretty good for me. I definitely don't take that for granted. But as always, I appreciate you guys coming and watching. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and we are back again on Friday. So I'll see you Friday. Take care, everyone.